and welcome to Beyond the Bio. This week, I am delighted to be joined by Kierian Cameron. So meet Kierian, who is the founding editor of Brand Cult, which is the UK's first award-winning print-only newspaper for entrepreneurs and brand-obsessed founders who wouldn't be caught dead with a metro. Alongside the newspaper, Kierian runs House of Cult Brands, a design studio in London, specialising in creating bespoke newspapers for brands, campaigns, and all types of events. Kierian is an expert speaker on branding, storytelling, building a community, and cult psychology. So basically, everything that you need to be visible and successful in business. Welcome to the show, Kierian.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm excited for this conversation because we are going to be talking about why print media isn't dead. And I think that is a super relevant topic right now when we're so obsessed with AI and tech and online and digital and all this sort of stuff. So we will get into that. But you've got a really interesting backstory. And I think sometimes it's super interesting to just explore how people have got to be doing what they're doing now. So take me back in time and tell me a little bit about your story and how you got to be doing what you're doing now.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I could fill up the whole entire episode with my story. Super squiggly career, which I believe most entrepreneurs have, because along the way they're picking up different skills to prepare them for their future entrepreneurial journey. And that's really how I look at my backstory. So if we're going way back, I did a degree in English literature, but then went into dentistry, and I worked a few years in dentistry, and then I decided that I was going to take a solo trip to New York City, and that's where I was in Times Square. I saw a crowd of people, so I went over with my camera to take some pictures of whatever was happening, and it turns out it was this bomb. There was a bomb in Times Square in a car. It was a car bomb. And the FBI were there and they were securing the area. But I'm still at the front here taking pictures. And someone approached me, told me not to take pictures, stand back. And this man would be my eventual husband. So I actually, on the same exact trip, I got stranded there. There was a volcano in Iceland that erupted and all the flights were grounded. So I was ended up in New York for like a month, and it was supposed to be a week. And then but it gave us time. We went to Yankees games. We did all sorts of things together. And then, these online relationships, like he then came over to Scotland. I went back over to New York. He proposed. We got married, whirlwind romance. And then I even got asked to be on Say Yes to the Dress because I got my dress from Kleinfeld's. So it's this massive change in my life. But then after a few months of being married, he told me, do you know what? I'd rather just be friends.
What?
And I was like, mind blown. I was like,
were you living over there at the time?
I was living there. I'd moved there. We had went through months of K1 visa appointments, green card appointments. I even brought my 6-year-old daughter over, and she was then calling him daddy. It was a really bad time. So then I was like, okay, whatever. So he left. I was all by myself in America, no friends, no family. Because he was FBI, he was super suspicious about people. So he didn't really allow me to have friends. So I was really alone. And it just so happens that this is another wild story, but I actually won the lottery.
In America?
In America, I was really struggling. I was working 5 jobs. I guess that's where my entrepreneurial spirit started, because I was working as a psychiatric nurse during the day. I was bartending at the weekends. I was waitressing in the evenings. And I was also selling on Etsy just to try and get a little bit extra money. I was just making my bills and nothing else. But it was really tough. I think it was a raffle at my daughter's school. I won a scratch card in the raffle, and I scratched it off, and it won me a lucky dip. So I never even played the lottery. So I took it into the newsagents. I got my lucky dip numbers, and I won. I think it was close to 75,000. They tax it as well, so I just took the lump sum because I was scared that I wasn't going to get it every month because I wasn't really, well, I was a citizen, but like I wasn't American, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just took it. So I was like, give me all the money. Went on some shopping sprees, and then a friend of mine had from New York had just moved to Hong Kong, and she was like, you know what? You don't have a husband anymore. You don't have friends or family there. Come over for Christmas and New Year. You've just won some money. Like, come visit us. So that's what I did. And Hong Kong had never been on my bucket list. But I went there and absolutely fell in love with the city. It was amazing. It was colorful. It was vibrant. It just felt new and shiny. And my degree's in English. So my friend was like, I'll get you a job as a teacher, no problem. And it was true. When I went back to America, I sold all of my stuff. I managed to get a visa and a job and a house. Everything just fell into place so easily. So I moved to Hong Kong with my daughter. It was like one of the biggest risks of my life, just getting up and moving. And that's really where, like, everyone talks about the American dream, but I didn't find the American dream, but I did find the Hong Kong dream. And as soon as I moved there, started working as a teacher, I realized there was this opportunity for teaching tutoring. Because I was working in a school, but then parents were coming to me saying, like, we need a tutor after school. So I filled up all my time with tutoring. And then they would ask for more, and I didn't have any more time left. So then I started hiring teachers and sort of making the connections and with parents, and then taking a cut of the money. And then that's when I started my education company. And I it was completely different from any company that I run now because it grew organically so quickly, word of mouth. Parents said, "Oh, I have a great tutor. I have someone I can hook you up with," and then it just grew. And within 6 months, I was making six figures. I bought myself a Tesla. I was living the dream. I was working every hour of the day. I decided that education was now my thing, and I did my postgraduate in education. And I was like, this is me. I've got ADHD, so I have these tendencies to follow, like, I get really passionate about something and I'm like, yes, this is me, this is me. So I was all into teaching, being a teacher. I was teaching every minute of every day. And then COVID hit, and then everything went online. Like, we couldn't even go into the schools anymore, and all my tutoring went online. And my daughter was actually back in the UK. She wanted to do her GCSEs in the UK, because Hong Kong is really tough with the education system. So she was always at the bottom of her class. But then whenever she went back to the UK, she was 2 years ahead of everybody else. So she was like, I want to
Oh.
be 2 years ahead. So she came back, did her GCSEs, and then, but it was really tough living in the UK without me when I was back in Hong Kong building a business. So she asked, she was like, I can't do it alone. Like, you have to come back to the UK. So I was like, you know what? Everything's online anyway. I can come back. I can still run my company online remotely. And that's what I did. And then slowly people started to go back to school. I started substitute teaching in London. And to be honest, I hated it. I hated the education system in the UK. It's so different from Asia. The kids, they didn't respect me. I was more of a babysitter. I was breaking up fights. As a substitute teacher, I didn't get to plan the lessons. I just had to do what I was given. And so I was really like questioning life again. And this was when I was reading a book called Ikigai. It's a Japanese philosophy. Ikigai means finding one's purpose in life. And I was like, I need to find what is my purpose? I feel lost. So I was reading this book, and then at the same time, I still have teachers coming to me saying, can you find me work? And I'm like, I'm not growing the business at the moment. And so I was a massive fan of Canva. So I was like, let me design a Canva flyer for you. You can go out and find your own students. So that's what I did. And then they said to me, they were like, wow, this flyer is amazing. Like, have you ever thought about graphic design? And I was like, wait, all of these years as a teacher, it's pretty much a graphic designer. I'm making educational resources. I'm making posters, flyers, things. I'm being creative all the time. For my first business, I had been doing the website, I had been doing the social media. I was like, I think, and then the thing with Ikigai is it's got it's very logical. It's got like four. Do you know what a Venn diagram looks
Yeah.
like with the circle in the middle and the
Mhm.
overlapping circles? Well, in Ikigai, they ask you like four different questions. The questions are something like, what do you love to do?
Mm.
What are you really good at? What does the world need? And what can you make money from? And when all of those overlapping circles meet in the middle, that is your purpose. So for me, it was like, well, I'm really good at graphic design. I've realized that I can make money from graphic design. They all came together,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, that's it. I'm a graphic designer now. So I went all in. I learned all of my Adobe certifications. I immersed myself in YouTube. And I realized like I wanted to buy more design and business related print, and I couldn't find any. They were all in America, and they were absolutely extortionate to get shipped to the UK. So I was like, you know what? And at the same time, I realized that number one, nobody was going to hire a fresh graphic designer, a 36-year-old graphic designer as an intern. So I couldn't get a position as an intern after this career switch. I didn't have the experience or even a portfolio to show for junior positions. So basically, no one would hire me. And I think this is really terrible. And I want to do more within the government or within the education sector that helps sort of mid-career people get into jobs, because it's really sad. But as an entrepreneur, I was like, well, you know what I do best? Setting up a business. So I'm going to set up my house of cult brands, and I'm going to offer design services, and I'll go out and find my own clients. So I started networking like crazy, 2, 3 events a week. And then I realized as I started to build up clients, started to build my portfolio, I couldn't help everybody with their design and their branding. So I was like, what can I do to give them the skills in business and design and branding that they can actually just do it themselves? And then I thought about Substacks, websites, online courses, online communities. And I was like, do you know what? Everybody is online. Everybody is going digital, and we spend all day on our computers. Do we really want to like log off for dinner and then have to log back on and read a Substack and read a LinkedIn blog? Like, I want to give them that time away from their computers, in a sort of like an intentional offline experience. And that's when I decided that I had been looking for design print magazines, newspapers, and that's where Brand Cult came about. And I decided that I was gonna create a business newspaper that is designed completely different from your usual Telegraph, Financial Times, completely different for the modern day founder who wants to know about business, who wants to come offline and then just read small excerpts and articles about industry experts. And that's how Brand Cult was evolved. And also, where I realized that as a graphic designer, I stopped doing logos and visual identities, although I do still do a little bit of that. I decided that I wanted to bring bespoke newspapers to businesses. I wanted to resuscitate print again,
Yeah.
because a lot of people they still see print as this old school thing that's been left behind by digital, but that's really not true. Because what's happening now is almost the opposite. You probably see that people are coming back to print because they're overwhelmed online. There's so much online noise, and everyone is fighting for attention online. And obviously, you talk about visibility all the time and how brand owners can be visible. Well, nothing sticks out more than if you send a print publication to your clients and they've got something physical in their hand, which they're given 100% attention to. And then, you know what? They don't just scroll past this advert. This sits on their table. This sits on their desk. They look at it every day. They pick it up. They share it with their coworkers. It's just so impactful. And I now want to give that. And the thing I love about Branco as well is that I'm there to spotlight UK businesses. I'm not sharing American advice or American entrepreneurs who we might not be able to relate to. And I'm always,
Relatable, accessible, all those
uh-huh.
things.
And I want to build up the UK entrepreneur. Like, I don't know if you recently, so on the front here is Grace Beverley,
Yeah.
and she's been
Yeah.
in the media recently. The Financial Times about a month ago or so. I can't remember the exact date, but they did an article on her, praising her, saying 27-year-old millionaire with 70 million wellness brand, amazing, amazing, amazing. And then a few short weeks later, another article said, "Oh my God, this girl, she's reported 2.5 million of losses, like, tearing her down." And we shouldn't be tearing down UK entrepreneurs. If we want them to stay in this country and support our economy, we should be building them up and encouraging other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I
So,
completely agree. I've got so many questions. Is this your total focus now, or have you still got the tutoring business and some of
do
the
you
other
know,
bits?
I've been trying to phase out the tutoring business, but I have some students who have literally been teaching for 10 years, and they've went from primary school, they're now in high school, and I'm trying to get rid of them. And I'm like, you don't need me anymore.
Could you not sell the business?
I thought about that too, because I obviously have a massive client base, so I could sell the business. It's still on the cards, but right now I spend a couple, maybe about 7 hours teaching every week to my diehard students. But I'm trying to phase it out.
Yeah, well, they'll get old enough to to not
They won't need me
need you.
eventually.
But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, now I'm old, so I grew up with like print magazines, like that was the thing, and I used to subscribe to everything. I still subscribe to a lot of magazines, which is actually I probably need to be a bit ruthless and ditch a few because when I'm just visualizing my coffee table at home at the moment, it's got so many magazines underneath it that I need to kind of um, read and recycle or pass on or whatever. But I
Mm.
really do like that. And I think it's exactly what you said. And especially actually a magazine, a newspaper that's for entrepreneurs, of which many have ADHD and have this whole, busy mind thing. Because I find that when I read an actual magazine or an actual newspaper or an actual book, and I do a lot of reading. I read every night. I have to read before I go to sleep. It's the only thing that actually calms me down. And I think it's the only thing where you're not flit into something else. So
Hmm.
if you're reading something online, then you get distracted by a notification, or you just, oh, I'm just going to go on Instagram or whatever. Whereas when you're actually physically holding something, it does stop you doing some of that. So I really like
Hmm.
that, and I think you've got a really great USP there in terms of just focusing on the UK, but also, if you're approaching someone and you're saying you're actually going into this physical thing that people can pick up and touch and read, I think that stands out more than all the offers that people get coming through about, oh, do you want to be on this online thing? So I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. And I really like the way that you send it out and it's beautifully wrapped and it's got the seal on and it's in the lovely paper. So it feels like something special. And I think when
Yeah.
it turned up in the office, the team was so excited to open it and see it. So I think
Try
that's
to create a whole experience around it. And you probably notice as well, along with the wax seal that they have to break open, did you smell it? I had a bespoke scent made because I'm really into sensory branding. So if you didn't notice it, go back and smell it.
I remember you telling me about that as well. That's
Because,
amazing.
yeah, I did an interview with a founder of a bespoke perfumery and called Algorithmic Perfumery, or Every Human. You can find it on Instagram. But yeah, they developed the scent. So I gave them a vision board of how I felt that brand cult would smell. So think of like secondhand bookshops and old
Uh,
churches and frankincense and that deep, rich, velvety. So then they developed the scent. And they talked about how sensory branding is something that a lot of businesses, I think it was like 80 to 90% of businesses don't have sensory branding or brand sense. But it's actually really great at layering on top of your messaging. For example, like if you go to markets or booths at conferences, if you're pumping out a smell, if people remember that and they like it, they associate it with your brand, it's just so powerful. So I
yeah.
included that with the whole brand cult experience, which I love. Going back to what you said about people paying attention, it's something like 84% of people will remember a print advert as opposed to something that they just scroll past online. So you really do have so much more attention. Some examples of this as well is I I did a case study on this guy called Mark, who's a photographer. And instead of just posting on Instagram all his pretty pictures, he actually had them printed into a newspaper. He put them into a care package with a candle and a few other bits and bobs, and he
Nice.
hand delivered them to his client's office. And when they received something so well thought out, instead of just a cold DM in their email saying, I would like to work with you, they opened it, they looked at his pictures. Like I said, it sat on their desk, and he actually ended up getting booked for shoots with Prada and Dior. So like it's just so
Nice.
impactful, and that's
That is
just what I
so
want to
cool.
spread.
So,
Yeah.
what kind of advice would you give to any founders that are listening to get into brand cult or any other print? Like,
Mm.
what are the best kind of approaches that you get where you want to then follow through?
Well, specifically for Brand Cult, if you go to brandcult.uk, there's an area of the website where you can register your interest to be interviewed, and you'll see the upcoming issues and pick the right one for yourself. And but in regards to other print and media, yeah, just reach out to your local newspapers. It's really important that they get visible in all areas.
Has there been sort of any pitch that's really stood out for you in terms of someone really selling themselves well? Any tips that people might be able to take away?
That's difficult because I do get a lot of pitches to be in the newspaper, but I actually feel like people don't put much effort into it.
I feel
Uh,
like that when people pitch me to come on the podcast, where
yeah.
it's either really obvious that they've not listened to the show, or they've given me a topic that it's just so not the right fit, and
Mm,
they've not sort of given me all the information I need in the pitch and stuff like that, and it is quite off-putting. So I find that when someone really goes the other way and actually has really put something together that's really thoughtful, then that does stand out. So I think although people might feel that, oh, I won't have a chance if I pitch Kierian to come in Bangkok, actually if they
mm,
just spend a bit more time focusing on putting one really great pitch together, they're going to have a
mhm,
better success rate. It's like when you apply for a job, isn't it? If you apply for 50 jobs and you do it half-heartedly, you might not, get to the next stage. But if you apply for two and you put all that same effort into those two, and really think about the person that's reading this, what do they want to hear? It just is going to get a better result, isn't it?
And it all comes down to that, like you said, thoughtfulness, intentionality, taking the time to really see what's needed, and yeah, how you can contribute. It's really important.
Yeah, so important. Kirian, I have loved our conversation. I feel like there needs to be a Netflix sort of program or film, a Netflix film about your life, because the whole moving to New York and then Hong Kong, like that is wild. So I look
That's just
forward
the
to doing
tip
that.
of the iceberg, to be
I
honest.
think
Like,
you need to be pitching Netflix. You need to be pitching Netflix. 100%. Amazing. If anyone watching or listening hasn't come across you, where's the best place for them to find you?
I love to connect with my audience on LinkedIn. You can search for Kierian Cameron. And if you're interested in Brand Cult, visit brandcult.uk, or even Instagram is brand.cultuk. Yeah.
Amazing. And we'll pop those links in the show notes to make it super easy for everyone to connect with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.